Hi guys, before we head over to the show, I'd just like to say that if you enjoy the content that I produce here and want to help support the show, for $2 a month, you can get ad-free episodes on Patreon. That's patreon.com/heavy metal tones. I'm also available on all streaming platforms and on YouTube. Please do head over to either one of those to support the show. If you feel so inclined, please do email me at heavymetaltones@gmail.com. That's heavymetaltones@gmail.com, where you can request, show ideas, album reviews, interviews, and so on. Otherwise, just sit back, relax, and enjoy the show.
Open the door to spring with Pura. Refresh every room with transportive fragrances like soft florals and clean, energetic citrus. Get started with a free Pura 4 diffuser when you subscribe to 2 cents monthly for 6 months. Shop now at Pura.com.
Every day as a small business owner feels like solving a puzzle. One moment you're cruising along, and the next, there's a shipping snag that has you scrambling. But here's a surprise you will like. With Progressive, small business owners save 13% on their commercial auto insurance when they pay in full. So go ahead, surprise yourself. Get a quote in as little as 8 minutes at progressivecommercial.com. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Discounts not available in all states or situations.
Guys, welcome to this week's episode of Heavy Metal Tones. I'm your podcast host, Tony Evans. This is a look at Black Label Society's latest album, which was released just over the shoulder a moment ago in the grand scheme of things on the 24th of March. I stand corrected, the 27th of March. I apologise, I can't read my own handwriting. The album is Engines of Demolition, and it's 51 minutes long, 13 tracks. And it's their 12th studio album from Black Label Society. But before we talk about the band and the music itself, let's talk about the man behind the band. Now, I had the privilege of interviewing Zakk Wylde only a few weeks ago for Metal Roos, the home of all things metal here in Australia. And it was a real sort of a real thrill for me, because it was that one step close to Aussie, or closer to Aussie. And it was that moment where I thought, this is it. This is a true guitar legend, right? He really is something special in the world of guitars. Most people who know heavy music will know who Zakk Wylde is. He was born Jeffrey Philip Wylde, known as Zachary Philip Wylde. I've probably completely butchered the way his last name is meant to be pronounced. Wildland, Wiellandt, in Benoit, New Jersey, on the 4th of January 1967. He is of Irish descent and grew up in Jackson, New Jersey, where he attended Jacksonville Memorial High School, graduating in 1985 at the age of 14. And like most of us of this generation, he cited music that wasn't heavy that inspired him. He says that Rocket Man by Elton John was a song that made him passionate about music. He started playing guitar at the age of 8, but did not become serious about it until he was in his teenage years. He has stated that he often played the guitar almost non-stop between coming home and from school and leaving for school the next morning, then would be completely exhausted during school days the next day. His earliest influences as a guitarist were Tony Iommi, Jimmy Page, Jimi Hendrix, and he later expanded his tastes to Frank Marino, Randy Rhoads, Eddie Van Halen, Joe Pass, Pat Martino, Al Di Meglio, John McLaughlin, and Paco de Lucia. So, big tastes, big ride chase in music. Most of us, though, would know him for his hairy biker band, the Black Label Society, which we're talking about now, and his constant use of what we call in the music industry pinch-harmonics, and what a lot of the Ute call squealies. It's the playing the harmonic note in a circular picking motion, so that you hit the note, the string with your pick, but bring through your thumb at the same time. just afterwards in a circular motion, which creates a harmonic note, a pinch harmonic. It's that kind of high squeal that he seems to be able to do at will. Now, sometimes, and I have to admit it, he has been known for overdoing the pinch harmonics, and he's probably really known for it. But if you can do it at will, then for me, why not show off? It's a very difficult thing to master. Yes, it's easy to master, as in you can do it, but to put it in any given moment in a riff or in the music is quite tricky. Now, he is well known for his Ozzy Osbourne. Most people know him outside of Black Label Society for his Ozzy Osbourne years. Now, he was with Ozzy Osbourne 87 to 95, 2001 to 2009, and then 2017 to 2025, just before he passed away. In 1987, Wylde auditioned for Ozzy Osbourne after listening to the Howard Stern show and learning that Ozzy Osbourne was looking for a new lead guitarist. Wylde was hired to replace Jakey Lee, big cool, who was fired by Osbourne's manager Sharon Osbourne. He subsequently toured with Osbourne and played on the No Rest for the Wicked, which is my favourite Ozzy solo album. You can go back into the show notes, and there was an episode there. It's actually one of my most popular shows I've ever done on that album. That was 1988, and then there was No More Tears in 1991, which I love, and Osmosis in 1995 as a co-writer. Wylde was replaced by ex-Lizzie Borden guitarist Joe Holmes in 1995 until Wylde's return in 2001. Although not credited for songwriting, Wylde recorded Down to Earth and appeared on the supporting tour. After auditioning different guitarists in 2004-2005, Ozzy Osbourne announced Zakk Wylde as the official guitarist for this album, Black Rain. Again, not one of my favourite albums of his, but certainly a poignant album for the time. It was released in 2007. It was quite a dark time back in 2007. There was not a lot of heavy metal going on, not really. Wylde rejoined Ozzy Osbourne's band once again for a select number of dates during October's 2017 summer tour and performed on the No More Tours tour before the remaining shows were postponed and eventually cancelled. Yes, I do remember that. On September the 8th, 2022, he again joined Osbourne on stage for the SoFi Stadium along with Andrew Watt to perform Crazy Train and the title track for Osbourne's album Patient Number 9. It's an interesting album. Latter Ozzy Osbourne albums for me had far too many ballads in them, but again, that's just personal taste. That's how he was towards the end of his working life, and who's going to say no to Ozzy? On October 19th, 2024, Wylde performed on stage at Rocket Mortgage Fieldhouse during the 2024 Rock and Roll Hall of Fame induction ceremony of Osbourne playing Mama, I'm Coming Home and No More Tears, which are, of course, two of my favourite tracks of his latter work. So he's intricate in the sound that Ozzy was to produce towards in the latter state of his career, and Ozzy wouldn't just pick anyone. I mean, you look at the people that were in his band, and I don't need to go over it with you now, but amazing band members. Now, before that, he did form a band in 1991 that was called Pride and Glory. This was a sort of southern rock inspired project, a bit like Lynyrd Skynyrd. The lineup recorded 2 songs, an instrumental entitled Farm & Fiddlin' for 1991 compilation album Guitars That Rule the World, and a cover of the blues standard Baby Please Don't Go for the 1992 LA Blues Authority Volume compilation 1. By 1984, the band had changed their name to Pride and Glory. Before that, they were called White Lion. I do apologise. They changed it to Pride and Glory, and they released their only album via Geffen Records and performed it on the main stage at Donington and Monsters of Rock Festival in England of June that year. And I remember that one because I went to that. It was an absolutely fantastic festival. I do remember it, only vaguely, mind you. In November 1994, Lomenzo left after a tour of Japan. 3 days before, Pride and Glory was scheduled to join a US tour. So some of the band members decided to leave. Now, James Lomenzio was the bass player I meant to mention, who was in White Lion, along with drummer Greg D'Angelo. So scrambling Wylde quickly managed to find a replacement in his longtime friend, John DeServio, who grew up with Wylde in New Jersey. Pride and Glory then played their final show on the 10th of December 1984 in Los Angeles. And on January the 31st, 1998, the lineup of Wylde, Lomenzo and Ticci reunited for a one-off reunion of the show with the Whiskey A Go-Go in Hollywood, very famous. And then he went on to do a solo album called Book of Shadows, which actually was it actually got into a lot of the charts high up. He was only really playing that album from 1996 onwards, but he did tour with it a few times between then and 2016. But then he formed Black Label Society in 1998, and here we are. After a limited commercial success of the Book of Shadows, Wylde drummer Phil Ondich recorded what became Black Label Society's debut album, Sonic Brew, with Wylde playing lead guitar, rhythm and bass. Nick Cantisi previously toured on a rhythm guitar for the Book of Souls tour and eventually joined the Black Label Society before being replaced by Dario Lorena in 2013. Zakk likes to work with his friends, and that's I don't see why you wouldn't. If you enjoy their company and want to make music with them, then all well and good, I think. Zakk Wylde has since released 11 studio albums. This one we're talking about is subsequently the 12th album, 3 live albums, 6 compilation albums with Black Label Society. He's also headlined second stage at Ozfest with the band, and he joined Osbourne for his Ozzy and Friends tour in replacement of the Black Sabbath tour scheduled for summer 2012, playing a range of European dates, including Grass Pop Metal meeting in Belgium. He also had a Black Sabbath cover band called Zakk Sabbath, handling guitar and vocal duties. So he's done it a lot. He's most recently though, he's been the Pantera lineup, because he was an extremely close friend of Dimebag Darrell. And on July the 14th, 2022, it was announced that Wylde had joined the reunited band Pantera to tour as a fill-in for the original guitarist Dimebag Darrell, who died in 2004. He was shot on stage. The new lineup, featuring Wylde, Phil Anselmo, Rex Brown, Charlie Bonette, replacing original drummer Vinnie Paul, debuted on their first night at the Heaven and Hell Metal Fest in Toluca, Mexico on December the 2nd, 2022. They came to Australia, but I didn't really get a chance to see them, to be honest. Was just one of those ones where it came and it went past me. Pantera then co-headlined Mexico's Monterrey Metal Fest with Judas Priest, and also performed at Knotfest in Chile, Brazil and Colombia. The band embarked on a full-scale tour of Europe in May of June 2023, and were supported by Metallica on selected North American dates of their 23-24 M72 World Tour. And they've also headlined the Opus stage at UK's Download Festival, and it was their first UK appearance in 20 years. So, for him it was a passion project, and I talked to him about it when I interviewed him, and how he was saying that most of his time was taken up by the Pantera project. So he wrote this latest album, Engines of Demolition, on that tour. He was saying that it was during that point when they were writing the music. I assumed wrongly before I talked to him that this music was recorded after Ozzy's death, and so it was more personally related to that. But he said that the music was changed ever so slightly to tweak it to be more about Ozzy, but it was mainly written around about 2022. Wylde and his wife Bernadette have 4 children, one of which Ozzy Osbourne was a godfather of. Wylde was a close friend of the fellow guitarist Dimebag Darrell, and dedicated the song In This River to Abbott after he was murdered on stage in 2004. Wylde is a Catholic who has described himself as a soldier of Christ. I didn't know that. So again, that's new to me. In August 2009, Wylde was hospitalised due to blood clots and was subsequently forced to cancel his tour with Mudvayne and Static X. After his hospitalisation, he stopped drinking alcohol. He's now dry. So it's quite amazing, because he was a real hardcore drinker, let's just be honest. Wylde gravitated to a particular Les Paul guitar, Bullseye painted 1981 Gibson Les Paul. A friend of mine who's a massive Zakk Wylde fan has every Zakk Wylde related guitar possible. Every time he brought one out that you could buy, he would buy it. Purchased one of the owners of Meltronics amplification. Meltronics was building a one-off live rig for Wylde that was designed around one of the owner's guitars, creamy white Les Paul custom with EMG pickups, which could become later known as the Grail. Originally intended to look like the Spiral from Alfred Hitchcock's movie Vertigo, it returned from a paint shop incorrectly, and Wylde liked the result. Wylde lost the guitar in 2000 after it fell from the back of a truck transporting equipment as it was travelling between gigs in Texas. Rewards were offered to anyone that had thought that about the information of the whereabouts of the guitar. Wylde and the Grail were reunited 3 years later when a fan bought it at Dallas pawn shop and saw his initials ZW carved into the humbucker pickup backs. He contacted Wylde's former webmaster Randy Kennis to arrange its return. I love hearing those stories. Often you hear those stories. The same as with Peter Frampton, when his guitar was lost in a plane crash. He thought it was gone, and then someone found it in Mexico where the plane crash happened, and someone had sort of painted it and thinned it down and done all sorts of things to it, but it was still his guitar. And when it got back to him, he spent a lot of money getting it put back to how it was. And you can get replicas. My mate John's got one, and it's actually, I call it the Beast because it really, really sings. Other signature guitar Les Pauls of Wylde's include a red flame maple bullseye's model, a black and antique white bullseye model, which I love, and an orange buzzsaw model. The pattern on which was inspired by a design on a Zippo lighter, and a camo bullseye model with mother of pearl neck inlays and a green camouflage paint scheme. Ah, fantastic. Another one of Wylde's favourite guitars is the GMW RRV, a model that is famously known as the Polka Dot V, originally created by Luther Cole Sandoff of California, used by Randy Rhoads. The guitar is often mistaken as a custom Flying V. It's a beautiful guitar. Anyway, that's enough of me being nerdy, although I do want to say here, Wylde has a custom Dean Spilletti with a mud splatter bullseye graphic, as well as a signature Spilletti shaped Gibson model with the ZV. Another Dean in his collection is a Dime series Razorback with custom bullseye graphics ordered by him specially by ordered specially for him by Dimebag Darrell. I put my teeth in, Tony. Shortly before his murder in 2004. Since receiving the guitar, he has only ever used it on stage to play the song In This River, Zakk's personal tribute to Dimebag. He uses Marshall MG series practice combos ranging in wattage with levels between 10 to 30 watts during tour private use, especially in hotels and buses. He's also been known to use Marshall valve state combo amplifiers. Wylde has an extensive relationship with Marshall amplification due to his love for their amplifiers, both solid state and tube driven. Yes, who doesn't? I mean, he has JMC 800s, the classic, with twin 4x12 cabinets loaded with EMV 12L 300 watt black label speakers. Now, if you don't know about this, but Marshall speakers come with different coloured backs. They've got blue backs, green backs, and black backs. Black backs are the ones that, from my limited knowledge, are the hardest, dirtiest sound. Vintage blue backs are great for blues, I believe, and vintage green backs are great for a sort of softer tone. Again, I could be wrong, and any of those out there who absolutely know these inside and out, please do let me know. He also uses Dunlop Wylde Rotor Vibe, Phase 90s, overdrives, delays, all sorts of things. All MXRs, by the way, that's his favourite brand. The detailed diagram of Wylde's 1980 Ozzy Osbourne guitar rig is well documented, and you can find it anywhere. Because his Aussie sound really does. He sort of punctuates and makes that Aussie sound of the later Aussie sound. Now, as for my connection with Zakk, after all that verbiage of all that numbers and names and words and dates, I will be asking questions at the end of the show, so please have a piece of paper and a pencil ready. No, I'm only joking. Just make sure you're listening. Anyway, I first come across Zakk through Ozzy, as most of us did, But I really came across him through my good friend Steve, who was in many extreme metal bands in Sydney, who was a big doom metal fan, a massive Sabbath fan, and therefore a huge Zakk Wylde fan. And he would play, he had this perfect pitch, and could play anything in front of him, and he loved playing Zakk guitar parts. I remember looking after his $36,000 Gibson Sunburst while he went away to Norway for a few weeks. All I can say is it was chilling having that thing in my house, because it was under my bed in its case, and I would get it out every now and then. You go, God, take it out, play it. And I felt too nervous to do so. I did play it, and I did take it out, and I put it through my then 200-watt valve head, which would make my windows shake like there was no tomorrow. But even on 2, it would make the windows vibrate. Why I had that is a whole different story in a different day, and we might go to that one day as well. But anyway, so he got me onto them, and then he got me onto Black Label Society. And the first 3 Black Label Society albums are a thing of rock and roll beauty. There is a period in the latter middle era of the Society where I feel it gets a bit weak. I'm not going to judge any of the albums because people out there love them. I love the first 3 albums, and for me, this latest one is very much like it sits in the same vein as that later one. So for me, Sonic Brew, actually, to be honest, I'm going to say the first 3 is wrong. Actually, I'm sorry. 5 albums: Sonic Brew, Stronger Than Death, Alcohol Fueled Brutality Live, which is a great album, 1919 Eternal, and Blessed Hellride. Up to the 2003 Blessed Hellride album, there's a little bit of a gap in there between, because then it goes Hangover Music Volume 4, Mafia, Shot to Hell, Scullage, Order of the Black, The Song Remains Not the Same, Unblackened, Catacombs of the Black Vatican. It's not until I find it, that's when I find it becomes really strong again. And then you have Doom Crew and Engines of Demolition. So, as I said, the first album, 1998, Sonic Brew, Stronger Than Death in 2000, Alcohol Fueled Brutality Live, 2001, 1919 Eternal, 2002, and then Blessed Hellride, 2003. They're my era that I like, and I really got into them around about the 1990 Eternal album, 2002. It was around about that point. Could even be Blessed Hellride, 2003, but it was around that point. As I remember sitting in Steve's little tiny bedsit thing in Sydney, and his big rack of guitars and all his memorabilia, and him just playing tracks from 1919 Eternal. I'm sure that's what I'm remembering. Anyway, right at the beginning there, it was this sort of brutal, heavy, dirty southern rock and roll, grimy, alcohol-fueled, guitar madness. He is a guitar genius. He is one of the guitarists in this world that when you hear him, you know it's Zakk. You don't go, oh, who's that? You just know it's Zakk, right? Chucks in the pinch-harmonics on almost every second chorus, on every second line. You know, he's got this thunderous down-picking, palm-muting heaviness that you can hear, that's born of many hours of listening to early Sabbath and things like that. Just that sort of slow, dirgy, heavy rock and roll that feels fast, feels heavy, but isn't that fast. It's almost doom-driven. You know, some of the tracks on, like on 1990 Eternal, came out on the 5th of March 2002. You know, some of the tracks on it, Bleed for Me, Laws of Destruction, Life, Birth, Blood, Doom. I love that track so much. If I was listening to that this morning, Graveyard Disciples, Genocide Junkies, Refuse to Bow Down, Mass Murder Machine, Berserkers. It's just, and there's a fantastic instrumental in there, American, The Beautiful. It's just a really great album for the era. It's sort of, for me, it says 2000 and early 2000, but in a really evocative way. It's the same as Blessed Hellride, his biggest selling album. The one that most people have come in to know him for. The fourth studio album. You know, great songs like Stoned and Drunk, Stillborn, The Blessed Hellride, Dead Meadow, Suffering Overdue, Funeral Bell, Final Solution, Destruction Override, Blackened Waters, Live No More, Dead Meadow, all those great album from the beginning to the end. Stillborn features Ozzy Osbourne, of course, which most people will know. I'm not going to talk about this album, even though I love this album so much. I want to talk about the latest one because I think it's a real good comeback to it's a real look back at the sound, and I think it's because of Ozzy's passing that this happened. Anyway, the album came out, I said, March 27th, and it's Engines of Demolition. We will talk about that on the other side. I've dragged on for long enough. Have a break, have a Kit Kat, and skip the ads if you have to. Otherwise, for $2 a month, as I said at the beginning, if you listen to my little spiel intro, you get ad-free episodes. Anyway, see you on the other side where we'll talk about Engines of Demolition. Bye for now.
Open the door to spring with Pura. Refresh every room with transportive fragrances like soft florals and clean, energetic citrus. Get started with a free Pura 4 diffuser when you subscribe to 2 cents monthly for 6 months. Shop now at Pura.com.
Welcome back, guys, to part 2 of Infinite Tones. We're podcast host Tony Evans, where we're looking at Black Label Society's 12th studio album that only just came out in March 27th of 2026. If you're listening to this in the future, this is Engines of Demolition, their 12th studio album. Now, as I said on the first part, I only just talked to Zakk a couple of weeks ago, and it was a real big thrill for me. Now, I've mentioned that I was first introduced to him by my friend Steve in Sydney. But actually, I first saw him live at Soundwave. It was middle of the day. I think it was 2012. Could be 2012. I'm thinking it was. It was right in the middle of the day, and it was sunny as, and it was a small side stage. And now I think about it, it wasn't that big a stage. But again, I don't think anyone really knew he was on. It was a weird one because it was sort of clashing with other, and I'm going to do air quotes, you can't see me doing it, bigger bands. And he came on stage dressed in a full Indian headdress. I don't think you could do it now. I mean, he can do what he wants. No one's going to say, Zakk, you can't do it. Have you seen him? He's a big built man, southern drawl. He's not going to take no for an answer. But he came on, and the small audience that was there with me, because I went right to the front. I think Steve, I remember rightly, was there as well. That was the one where I headbanged so violently to Cathedral's last ever Australian show that I got whiplash, and Steve said, "I'm glad I'm not your chiropractor." And I went to go and lie down on the grass while stupid bloody Marilyn, oh my god, I can't stand it, Manson was making an ass of himself on the main stage. Anyway, side note, so it really blew me away watching him play, because I was right up close, and watching him sort of wearing his big chain and his leather vest and the big beard, and you could almost smell the cigars and whiskey from where we were. It was a real experience for me, and he played a lot from those first 5 albums, and I'm really glad that this new album, and I said it to him when I interviewed him, that it feels like it's back. There's a real sense of almost full circle for me, because there's tracks on this album that sit in the same league as Stillborn or Blessed Hellride, as I said, right? Anything off the 1919 Eternal album. So the album itself, it says 51 minutes long, 13 tracks. Quite a long album, actually, but the tracks are not very long. You're looking at 3 to 4 minutes max per track. We're not going on these big esoteric journeys here. This is pure rock and roll, and pure southern blues-driven, dirty rock and roll, right? He's got such a distinctive voice. Now, some people love it and some people hate it. You know, if you're in the hating group, well, that's fine. You have the right to feel that way. But I also say to you, why are you hating it? Have you actually given a chance to listen to it mixed within the full cadre of music? Because once you hear it in that mix, it all comes together for a good reason, right? Anyway, it's very heavy. His vocal style is very heavily influenced by Ozzy as well. There's a lot of times where you can hear Ozzy in his tone. Now, this album is being mixed vocally on, I think, 2 or 3 tracks. I've picked out 2. You've got the top track with his voice very gruff and very, like, 60 cigarettes a day, bottle of whiskey a day kind of voice. But there's also some beautiful harmonies that he's recorded underneath, that sit underneath that and pad out the vocal line, and it's actually really, really beautiful when you listen to it very carefully. Now the track listing on this album is Name in Blood, Gatherer of Souls, In the Hand of Tomorrow's Grave, Better Days and Wiser Times, Broken and Blind, The Gallows, Above and Below, Lord Humongous, Pedal to the Floor, Broken Places, The Stranger, and Ozzy's Song. Okay, so I sort of approach this album in that it comes out of the gate really strong in Name in Blood, right? And it just continues on that way. I wrote here, let me just get my notes up. Okay. Excuse me, too many papers to turn. I put it's got an overpowering bass and drums. This particular first track, it's got a southern drawl. It's a real southern sort of Lynyrd Skynyrd style solos. Not too many pinch-harmonics I've written here in red letters, or squealies, which I'm really pleased about. Thematically and lyrically, this one is about the sacrifice you give when you sign up to fight for your country. That's how I read it. Okay. And it's something that he's explored ever since the 1990 Eternal album. You know, he's not writing lyrics that are going to change the world by any means, right? But he's writing very deep and personal lyrics for himself, and then you can read into it what you want from there. I give you my name in blood, he says. I walk these stones of fire. There's not a cross I would not bear. The sacrifice I carry, never shall it stray, to be with you and now and every day. I'll give you all I've got. I'll give you my name in blood. My name in blood. I'd wander through the shadows, the darkness I embrace. War upon war through time and space. You can search for the beginning, for you'll not find the end. It's what it is. It's what's always been. I'll give you all I've got. I'll give you my name in blood. My name in blood. Now, knowing that he's also quite Catholic, that could also be a religious song. I doubt it. For me, it sounds like it's, sacrificing the greatest sacrifice of them all for your country, your life, or not just your country, but the world's freedoms and its ideologies. It's a really good track. Great solo. I really like the dirty chaos I wrote that this album has. There's a real dirty chaos to it. And then we move on to Gatherer of Souls. It's got bounce. This is really groovy. There's a fuck ton of groove. He really knows how to add groove and swing and movement. The down picking, the harmonic arrangements are in around the bass, the drums, the guitar, his vocals, and some keyboards. It's fantastic. It's brutal. It's got Ozzy's. I've written here, Ozzy is so present in this one. You close your eyes and you could almost hear the boss, as he would call him, in his voice. There's a sort of dirty chaos, as I said before, in the solos. It battles your attention in the stereo panning. It really does. You put the headphones on and you're battling to hear what's going on the left, what's going on in the right. There's a sort of a uniform chaos which this piece of music brings together in a very harmonious way. Lyrically, this is a bit more esoteric. It's a bit more Lovecraftian for me. It has a little sort of sciencey fiction kind of concept. Traveler of time, dismantle all the past, destroyer of worlds. That's why I get that Lovecraftian Call of Cthulhu thing. Disguised in light, a machine of hate. Bury the survivor, bury his fate. All right, now there'll be no salvation. The gatherer of souls, what they don't believe in time, they'll know. A world in ruin, ravaged and torn. The fall of man, the machine is born. Yeah, see, is it to do with the relentless mechanization of humanity that just doesn't stop? AI being part of it. Constant the search for man to dominate everything, but also the inherent laziness in humanity, where they would rather make a machine that does it for them than do it themselves. And will this be the downfall of society and the world itself? This is the sort of thing that a lot of musicians and artists are looking at right now. It's very esoteric, very Lovecraftian, as I put. Then we've got Hand of Tomorrow's Grave. Dirty atmosphere in this. It's got a grime to it. It's a real rock and roll swing and blues that you get in it's one of my favorites on the albums. It's full of big letters, Groove, really groovy, southern down picking, the southern drawl in his vocal line. By now your neck should be feeling absolutely knackered, because the amount of rhythm and movement that this album brings you, even just 3 tracks in, is quite demanding. It really shows, I think, an artist at their absolute peak. For me, this is an album that had to be made. It was almost like he let go of Ozzy and made this album, and it's really suits his style, very much so. It's got a really fantastic solos, very groovy solo. I love his solos. They go in all sorts of directions. They can be quick, they can be long, they can be very intricate, very clean, or they can be fast and almost unlistenable sometimes. It's about retribution, and it's about, take it now, do it now, fuck the consequences. The time will come. That's what it basically means, But for me, anyway, I mean, every lyric is different to every listener, as you know. We have lines like, through eyes of decay, smiling, selling smiles and hope, the serpents that slither through the noose of the rope. Take all that you're giving, that you lost me along the way. Take all that you're giving when that offers you the hand of tomorrow's grave. So again, it's one of these things that is a very sort of often used trope in heavy metal. I mean, Maiden have done it with Hallowed Be Thy Name. Many bands have done it. Tom Jones did it with Delilah. Green Green Grass of Home, which is about the look of looking out land you were born in before you go to your final, to the drop, as they say, before the noose takes you. I think this is about that as well. It's sort of about, the noose, the hangman's got you. You have no regrets. There's no retribution to be done. This is retribution on you, because the hand on tomorrow's grave means you knew what you did. You're dying tomorrow, that the hangman comes for you, and your hand is on that grave. You dug that hole, you tied that noose, you stepped onto those gallows. It's all your decisions. And I think that this is what makes this a really great track. And again, also one of my favourites on the album. We then come steamrollingly into a much quieter piece of music, a much softer piece of music. In better days and wiser times, it takes time to take a breath. Now, the next few tracks on his album do that as well. He does it so well with Black Label, where he'll just push you at max and then pull you back. It's same with Ozzy, as I said before in the first half. So Ozzy went with a bit too many of them, ballads towards the end, but this sort of thing is almost like a ballad. Okay, the solo on this just screams. It's an amazing solo. It has a sort of Beatlesque sound to it, because I mean Ozzy was a massive Beatles fan, and the two connected so strongly, emotionally and professionally and creatively, that it sort of rubs off. And there is this real Beatles feel to this song. It's quite beautiful, actually. It's hard rocking as well. The bass and drums here step up and they bring the heart and the soul to this simple track that Zakk has made. It's not overly detailed. It's not overly hard to listen to. It almost has a pop sensibility to it. It's about personal growth, about moving forward. And I love the lyric on this. It's actually one of my favourites to listen to, because it just is slightly slower piece of music, slightly easier, very groove laden. It's almost a stoner rock vibe here. Zakk has often said that he feels that listening to Black Label Society is like how you recognise McDonald's all over the world, where it tastes the same wherever you go and it's reliable. But he said with this particular track, he feels it's a bit more fresher and more country infused, twisting and adding a new flavour to their musical repertoire. And yes, that makes more sense, I think. I sort of think it has a sort of stonier vibe to it, but it's certainly much more country, which is, again, that's Zakk. I mean, it's where he's from, right? The lyric is, no more second guessing, no more wondering why. Turn my back on the old cold winds for the warmth of the desert sky. The gathered wounds I carry remind me of what I no longer wish to see. I left my betrayals behind for better days and wiser times. So, he's basically saying, I'm turning my back on the cold winter of my life. I'm moving forward into the warmth. This is that look on his break of his addiction to alcohol, and it could be sort of the way he's portraying that. The alcohol was the coldness. This is now the warmth. I now have a better life, better days, and finer times. So beautiful, simple country style music, with a little bit of heaviness in there involved. Then we get Broken and Blind, a turned full circle here, with the open with drums that center groovily right in the middle of the mix, with the bass playing here as well. It kicks in and feels like a party tune. It's party time again. Zakk is often well known for doing his "oh yeah" kind of American draw, and he brings out here. He brings out often as he brings out his pinch harmonics, to be honest. And he's got this chug groove, something you always get with BLS. It's that chug without sounding. You can almost hear every note in the formation of the chord and the chug. Sometimes with those down picking guitars, it just sounds like sandpaper on a brick wall, but this is more, it has a clarity to it. He's jokingly said that this is about his addiction to peanut butter and chocolate, and how on tour, if he doesn't get it, he gets very, very agitated and short-tempered. It's quite a short track. Opens up the way that Better Days does. It's got that slower opening, but it also hits then this sort of very sharp rock and roll, just pure rock and roll, really, if I have to be honest. He's not reinventing the wheel here. The lyric again, we get I'm leaving your world upon sunrise. Blah, blah, I'll start again. I'm leaving your world upon sunrise to search for the peace I can't find. It took me so long to realize you took me away from my mind. When you're broken and blind, there's nothing more to be taken. The hopes of tomorrow I can't find. It took me so long to realise you took me away from my mind. And that's probably what his substitute of alcohol, if you imagine, that's what his alcohol did. It took him away from those thought memories. And so chocolate and peanut butter is his substitute, his crutch, so he needs them. Yes, they're probably not good for him, but how much more American can you get than chocolate peanut butter? This is a lovely, if this is the truth behind the song, it makes a lot of sense to the lyric. Then we get the gallows, and this I've put as a stone cold fucking brilliant track. No shock, that's the trademark chug chug rock and roll southern drawl blues vocals that flow over this tightest of grooves on this album. Soulful melodies, crushing riffs. Let's not forget the bruising solo here. It's trading punches from left to right in the stereo. It's trading punches with the vocal line. He's got this really great way of just as a lyric comes in, he sort of frames it with a riff at that final word. It just makes the whole movement of the piece fluent. It's I don't know. It's very difficult to describe it unless you actually hear it. But he comes in that he has the final word of the lyric of the verse comes in. Over the top comes this intonation, this moment, this pause and push and pull, and just brilliant. And again, the gallows. I mean, I thought originally it was what it said on the bottle, right? It is what it is. But there are different things. So he says it marked a significant moment for Black Label Society as it was the first single from the 12th studio album, Engine of Demolition, which came out in March 27. Blah, blah, blah. This album was highly anticipated, especially since it followed a nearly 5-year gap after their previous release, making it the longest interval between albums in the band's history. I didn't mention that. I forgot to mention it. I'm mentioning it now. Oops. Anyway, lyrically, you've got waters of despair until there's nothing left. I've died again inside. You've taken my dying breath. You'll be the first. You'll be the last. And that's when he brings that little intonation on the solo in. Together we shall burn as our gallows turn to ash. Running from my fate as the vultures await theirs. I've died again inside. So I think that again is about. It's. I mean, he's brilliant with his lyrical. His ability to use very bulk standard imaging, gallows, death, war, but turn it into a deeply personal thing. These gallows that you are to die on is something emotional. It sounds like emotional death, and we use these. I'm using the ashes of these that we have burnt of these gallows after he's destroyed them to rebuild. I died again inside, and you'll be there for your final ride. And I'll be there for your final ride. Sorry. This is is it as an allegory, or is it a straightforward story about murder and death and the death sentence and retribution? I'd like to think it was the first option of that one, that it was all about his soulful ride through his personal and private life, And then we get Above and Below. Now, Above and Below, the guitar here, it's very chewy, I wrote. And I don't know what I mean by chewy. When I write these things in my notes, often they make sense when I write it. And then I read it and go, chewy? It's got a heavy but light feel. The mix is possibly one of the best on the albums, because it jumps from extreme to open and clean, soulful to light. At the snap of a finger, it's straight back in. It's got haunting melodies. It feels like a battle between the good and evil. That's what this album feels like to me. It's like a good and evil. The song is a good and evil. The way the solo sort of how I've written here, it perforates the track in such a way that it's he's not playing the same motif all the way through as some guitarists do. He's playing with a colourful palette of guitars in here, and I think, and tones and textures. As I said, he's not gone too too squealy in this one, which I appreciate. I'll be honest with you, I appreciate, because it's what put me off the latter albums. There's a little bit too much of that overproduction. But anyway, that aside, this is a great first single for the album. Absolutely cracking. Again, I think if I had to put it in my album favorites on the album, it's probably going to sit first, maybe second or third. Okay, and then we get Back to Me, and Back to Me is a typical Zakk Wylde track. Musically, not much the difference there. Very similar in its approach. There is some beauty in the music. There is some lightness in it. Lyrically, it's again a very clever piece of music lyrically. Here is another ballad from the album. It does sit very much akin to the previous beautiful ballad or light out a song that was on the at the beginning of the album, as we mentioned. Very, very much very much like Better Days and Wiser Times. It's a nice way to, again, slow down the album at 3 minutes 34, which is the average for the album, actually. It really does slow it down. There's some lovely classical cling guitar, which he does really well. When he plays the cling tones on this album, it's beautifully recorded. It's very well produced, and I actually really love it. Lyrically, it does speed up. It does get heavier towards the middle. These vocals on it are very, very nice. Oh, hang on, that was me pressing play. Oop. What am I doing, Tony? Who knows? I've been re-listening to the album again today, and I must have had it on my phone or to something. I pressed something and it started playing a little bit of one of the tracks. Luckily, nothing to me copyright, because it was like 1 second and very low. Anyway, we as I said, lyrically for Back to Me, there's very clean guitar sounds. Beautiful, beautiful. He's got such a delicate hands for such a big man. One last look, what is said is said, what is done. One last look upon this day I know would come. Whenever you may roam, wherever you may be, promise that you'll find your way to me, back to me. So yeah, it's a love song, just saying, I knew you'd go away. I knew you'd have to leave one day, probably his children, we don't know. But please do come back, and I know you'll come back. It has that kind of country music. I loathe country music, but it has a real kind of country music feel to it, which I don't regret him. I don't say it's awful, because he does it in a sort of southern blues rock and roll way, slightly better than all the my dead dog's dead, my girl's left me, and my Chevy pickup truck is broken down, all that kind of crap. It has a sort of dirty, as I said, sort of dusty, small town vibe feel to it. And then we get one of the other singles, Lord Humongous. This one is fairly heavy on for the album. I think it's probably one of the heaviest on the album. Lots of heavy chugging, a crazy chaotic solo at the end, and the most Black Label Society sounding track on the album, actually, because this sort of showcases Zakk's vocal abilities perfectly here. The way that he harmonizes over the top of the rhythms on this track are fantastic, and it made a great single. Before we die, I love it. Wheels of roaming thunder, destruction fills the air within the horror of the wasteland where they walk without fear. Hell below our feet as the lightning fills the sky. No more tomorrows, let's live before we die. The storms of burning fire, unhinged without remorse, the wrath upon one's sins until the dogs of war have run their course. See, for me, this is it's just a it's almost a fantasy. Again, more like the Cthulhu, the kind of the that sort of, Edgar Allan Poe sort of feel. It's science fiction, it's science fantasy, it's fantasy. Lord Humongous, what a great name. I'm sure there's a story based around it. I can't work it out, but it's just like dogs of war and thunder and lightning and before we die and going to war. Again, is it an allegory, or is it just simple, good old-fashioned music? Possibly just one of those. Then we get Broken Pieces. There's a shorter track here at 2:55. Coming to the nitty-gritty end of the album now. Oops, did I forget Pedal to the Floor? Well, I said I may have mentioned that. Anyway, Pedal to the Floor is next, and this is a real driving song. At 4 minutes 34, it's a real driving song. It has, it's just like, it feels like it was written by the Eagles, or it was written by, it's like a dirty version of Journey, Foreigner, all that kind of thing. A real sort of Midwest long road highway rock and roll song. And it is. He was talking to me about it, and he said this is the real sort of good, honest fashion, simple rock and roll track on the album, because I said how much I liked it. And he said it's the longest one. It was one of the later ones they recorded, and it's just it's the simplest one. And I can see why, right? You can see why. Opening with his trademarked, oh yeah, pedal to the floor, ain't got time to bleed. Pedal to the floor until the last dying breath I breathe. This mountain that stands before me, gonna cut it down in size. It's all over now. It's all I've ever known. It's all that keeps me alive. It's just a classic driving song. It's just about. It's full of machismo and macho-ness, and which is machismo, in other words, I suppose. It's just groovy, fun. It's almost one of a throwaway song on the album. Which I don't like to admit to, because I wouldn't say any of them are throwaway, but it has a sort of a throwaway kind of song to it. Then we've got Broken in Pieces. This is short, as I said before, 2 minutes 55. We're coming right to the end, to the pièce de résistance, the final track of the album, Ozzy's song. But first we've got Broken Pieces, I should say, sorry. Before I let you go, I should let you know, Gallows was released on September the 10th, 2024 as a single. Lord Humongous was released 21st February 2025. Broken and Blind was released 9th of October 25. And Name in Blood was released in January 2026. Okay, now, so we've got Broken in Pieces next. It's the shortest track on the album. This is a real stonery piece of music. It's it feels like something that's often one of off of let's say I think maybe a early Sabbath album. It definitely has early Sabbath or mid Sabbath sounding to it. It certainly sounds like it's off of something like, I'd say it could even be off of Sabbath Bloody Sabbath. It could be off of Masters of Reality. More Masters of Reality, actually. It's a slow track. It's not. I think it helps to bring some of the pace down from Pedal to the Floor. Very masterfully done, actually. Within the silence of my given home, skies of sorrow into the unknown. All that I had and all that I knew, this world that you've given to me, the broken pieces, is given to you. The watery grave that stares back at me, I find forgiveness in what you've handed to me. So, again, the watery grave, it's imagery and allegory of the loss of life, drowning, the S word that ends with "I'd," and things like that. It sits perfectly within the oeuvre of the album. The album seems to be roughly stories of redemption or retribution, or the what happens at the moment that you realise that there is no going back, right? It sort of feels that way because the album itself, titled Engines of Demolition, it's mainly about death, isn't it? You can see it now, and with Ozzy Ozzy's departure sort of pulling it into sharp focus. And then we get track 12, The Stranger. It's as if we're coming to the end of the album. So what they do in this, they pull out the wackiest piece of music for the very last, second to last track. This is guitar mastery at its best. There's lots of wah, there's lots of pinch-harmonics, there's lots of circular notes, there's lots of down picking, it is, and then of course you have the Ozzy inspired vocals in here, and it's this crazy piece of music that goes for 3 minutes and 9. It just doesn't, it starts mad, continues mad, and ends crazier than it started. Lyrically, it says, tip across the universe, supersonic engines grind, carry me through the time and space, unsure of what I'll find. All is dead and gone, no such thing as a home. Stranger in a strange world, world is what I walk alone. Years have passed through space of speeds of sound, not knowing what awaits, the past of the future, life and death. What remains is a man's fate. So this is just purely a story about traveling through the wilderness of space, again being lonely, being alone, and not knowing what's coming for you. But it is apt for the lyric because the music is it's almost science fiction-y. It has this sort of drug-fueled psychedelic madness. It starts off mad, gets mad, and ends up really, really mad. And I love it. It's almost a great. If you finish this album on this song, you go, well, yeah, I'm done, right? But it doesn't. We finish on a beautiful tribute to his longtime and close friend and mentor, Ozzy Osbourne. This is called Ozzy's Song. Now, I wish that they had released. I really wish this had come sort of separately and not been the other end of Stranger, but it makes sense while it's on there. It's a beautiful homage to his as a close friend, mentor, and I love that he's almost intertwined some of Ozzy's solo music. Feels like there's a bit of Ozzy looking over his shoulder when it's being played. Opens with a lovely sort of piano piece, and Ozzy loved piano, so a lot of piano in this particular track. It's soft, it's beautiful, it has a wonderful, restrained and thought out bluesy solo sitting in perfect intonation with the vocal. You can hear the heartfelt sadness in the lyric and the way he sings it. The piano coming through has a Beatlesque feel to it. The drums it reminds me of Maggie May by Rod Stewart. It has a Maggie May feel to it without being having pop sensibilities in it. And then lyrically, honestly, let's read the lyric. I saw you yesterday before you went away. Remember when we never thinking it would end, blue skies up above, but soon we'd feel the cold. Although we knew, we'd choose not to know, but it's okay, the skies may cry. Isn't it lovely? Talking about his last times with the great man. But I'll be holding on, the skies may cry, now the race is run. All the chaos in all the wars, when all is said and done, I couldn't ask for more. Enjoy the ride before it's gone, enjoy the ride. It doesn't last for long. So he's talking about his friendship and how friendship should be number one, and family, because it will eventually disappear. The skies may cry, but I'll be holding on. All the chaos and all the wars, when all is said and done, I don't ask for more. I couldn't ask for more, sorry. I feel very teary just thinking about it. So, this is a brilliant album that ends on a beautiful, touching note of a great man who changed the face of music, our music, and rock and roll and heavy metal and heavy rock forever. There is no doubting that those lads from Birmingham changed the way we look at music, and it's also so beautiful to see the way that one man's influence on another, creative styles, lets him open up and become his own beautiful thing, yet the DNA is still there. And we all miss Ozzy. You know, I cried that day. I cried again when he on his funeral day and the last show. And it's just lovely that we can have people like Zakk, who have flourished in the sunny uplands of a genius like Ozzy. I had someone at work the other day say to me that he thought he had a terrible voice. I don't get it. I don't see it. But then, this is the beauty of this industry, isn't it? Everyone's opinion is their own. I couldn't think of a world, to be honest, without Black Sabbath albums, without the Black Sabbath albums that we have. I couldn't think of not ever hearing Paranoid or War Pigs or Fairies Wear Boots or Iron Man. I mean, I could reel off so many. NIB. I don't know. I would like to be able to hear those songs again, as if I've never heard them before, and just see how I react to them now. Because, yeah, I get that feeling from this album, and I hope you do too. Anyway, I've rambled on enough. That was the brilliant album. The engine of the... Oh God, Tony. Engines of Demolition. See, I'm just a little bit sad now. The first full-length album for 5 years since the Doom Crew Incorporated, which I didn't think was a great album anyway. And one of the best. I think it sits with those first 5 albums really, really well. Or 4 if you include the live album. I think it sits very, very well. I think it's almost like it was made just after they were made. It feels that there hasn't even been a gap in between, but yet still growth. Anyway, enough for me. Do go and listen to the album. Go enjoy it. See if you can hear things that I don't hear in it. There's so many layers to this album that it's well worth listening over and over again. It's on all streaming platforms. You can buy it on physical media, and you can watch it on YouTube and so on. But please do go and also watch my interview with Zakk. You'll find it was a fascinating interview. I will put the link in the show notes below. Anyway, thanks for listening. Bye for now. Talk to you next week. Ta-da!
Refresh the rooms you love for spring with Pura's collection of floral, citrus, and fresh scents. Bright, airy, and made for the season. Open the door to spring in every room. Learn more at Pura.com.
The Roos Gaming Resort, where new members play for free. Sign up for a rewards card and get $125 in guaranteed free play across your first 5 visits. The Roos Gaming Resort, home of the largest jackpots in Virginia. Over $1 million paid out weekly.